Yes, welcome to Taos United Community Church, where everyone is welcome no matter what you believe, what you used to believe, what you love to believe, what you just won't believe. You are welcome in this house of prayer, and it belongs to you. So we're glad you're here. Today is the fourth Sunday in Advent, and we get to light this wonderful Advent wreath that Ken and Janet Tott gave us when we first started this church. And we're grateful. But before we do that, are there any announcements?
Yes.
Okay, Christina, come on up.
In Shepherd's Place, there's a box, and it's a kind of a box bag, and it's black, and it's for recycling, and the plastics will be dispatched to Las Cordovas Recycling Center, and they accept numbers 1 and 2, which you probably know are found on the bottom of the plastic containers in a triangle. And so then we'll dispatch them, Sid and I, when the box bag is full. It's located near the coffee machine. It's a big black container. And so you're welcome to put your plastic recycles 1 and 2 in there. And then we can begin the recycling process here.
Thank you. And that's just a follow-up to the plastic thing at Tilt is no longer accepting plastic until they make use of what they already have and sell the walls that they've already made. So that stopped on December 20th. So thank you very much, Chris, for this. And are there any other announcements? Yes.
Well, let me add, I'll come up. So while we're on recycling, many of you know that when I'm not here, I'm actually working with Shared Table, the food pantry. And so on recycling, we need your plastic bags, the kind that you actually check out with if you're still getting that kind, or paper bags, and egg cartons. So we need all of those because we often get, if the grocery stores drop a carton of eggs and a few are cracked, they don't have time to mess with sorting eggs or any of that. So we get lots of cartons and we need to resort. And how we send out the produce, and many, many thanks to Cheri, who's become a produce diva in the packing of produce. So we pack 500 bags and 10 pounds of produce in all those bags. So when you multiply that, you realize how many pounds of produce Cheri and friends are packing every time. But we need bags to do it. And so we really appreciate it. Also, you're always welcome to drop off at El Pueblito boxes that you got for holiday gifts or cardboard boxes, because that's how we put it all together. Each box of food costs us about $6. But we try not to buy boxes because boxes alone are $1.50. That's what the food bank out of central New Mexico needs to charge us in order to cover their cost on boxes. So we don't buy boxes, but that means we're looking everywhere for a box. So they need to be about this size. So think that we're going to put 25 pounds of food in them, including the produce and that. So not little boxes. They've got to be reasonably sized boxes. And yep.
Related to a bank box. So
yes.
It needs to be bigger than that.
No, that's about the size it would be perfect.
A bank box.
A bank box. And we can use any version thereof. They can be deeper and wider and that. And the good news is that if we can't use it, we can recycle them. So whenever you're in Super Save, please tell those folks thank you. They allow us to recycle all our cardboard through their recycling. They're precedent, and doing that. But thank you. So it encouraged me when you were talking about recycling. We'd love to add to the recycling community.
Drop them off in front of your front door.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. No clothing, thank you, but boxes and bags we'd love, and egg cartons.
Carrie?
I'm just adding on to what Cheri said. This Tuesday is our distribution a day early, and I know several people are out of town, so we might be short-staffed. So if anyone can help on Tuesday morning at 7:45, 8?
8, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any other announcements? I don't think so, right? Okay. So let us, first of all, welcome Cheri and Ron. Cheri is our wonderful speaker today. We're going to try to find a moment of peace in this quiet time before we get started. So please, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. Have an attitude of prayer. Breathe in the light that's growing every day. Breathe out whatever is a shadow in your life right now. Now Helen is going to help me light the fourth Advent candle of love. Mary was a young, strong, spiritual woman. Even though her life was not easy, she heard God's voice and said yes. Her song was a prayer that would uplift those who were downtrodden. Her lyrics shattered the proud and called the world to change. She would bear within her the promised child, Jesus, the light of the world. This Advent, we respond to God's beckoning to us as well. We recall the times we have struggled, but said yes. We know times when God has filled us and our world with blessing. We pray always to respond with and in love. And now it's time for everybody to light a candle. And while we do that, we're going to sing Imagine. So I hope you have the lyrics on your seats. That wonderful John Lennon song. So we take a candle. We bring a prayer. We place it in the sand bowl so everyone can see and everyone can be with us in our prayer. So please come. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religions too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. Let's hear now from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 1, verse 26 through 38. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to the Galilean village of Nazareth to a virgin engaged to be married to a man descended from David. His name was Joseph, and the virgin's name was Mary. Upon entering, Gabriel greeted her. Good morning. You are beautiful with God's beauty, beautiful inside and out. God be with you. Mary was thoroughly shaken, wondering what was behind a greeting like that. But the angel assured her, Mary, you have nothing to fear. God has a surprise for you. You will become pregnant and give birth to a son and call his name Jesus. He will be great, be called Son of the Highest. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. He will rule Jacob's house forever, no end ever to his kingdom. Mary said to the angel, but how? I've never slept with a man. And the angel said, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, the power of the highest hover over you. Therefore, the child you bring to birth shall be called Holy Son of God. And did you know that your cousin Elizabeth conceived a son, old as she is. Everyone called her barren, and here she is 6 months pregnant. Nothing, you see, is impossible with God. And Mary said, yes, I see it now. I'm the Lord's maid, ready to serve. Let it be with me just as you say. Then the angel left her.
Just gonna spotlight you, Cheri.
Thank you, Lou. And that's an old, old story that we've heard many times, but today's version came to us from the Message Bible by Eugene Peterson. And I specifically asked Eileen to share that version so that Lou could read it, because I wanted you to hear these words. Good morning. You are beautiful. You are beautiful with God's beauty, inside and out. Now, the more familiar language is probably out of other translations, the New Revised Testament or others that you have, which says that you are the favored one. But today, I want us to explore what it means for us to be called beautiful. Because that doesn't happen all the time in our society. We're too fat, too old, too thin, too tall, too short, too something. But you are beautiful. We are beautiful as a community of faith. So I want us to think about for a few minutes about beauty in a broad sense. What is beauty? If somebody was to ask you, beauty is ... what would you say? So let me rephrase that. This is not a rhetorical question. Let me invite, and those of you on Zoom are welcome to jump in as well, because we can hear you. At least Ron can hear you. And maybe Janet and Ken. They're sitting up close to the speaker, so they can hear. So if you've got a thing. So beauty is? The wind through the trees. Shine. The sun. Absolutely. Others? A baby. A baby.
As beauty does.
As beauty does. Very good. Thank you. As beauty does. And Jerry? Crisp, cold air. Crisp, cold air.
Blue sky.
Blue skies. Blue skies coming. So those are all, and I'm sure we're thinking of many, many more. One that I felt touched by as a piece of beauty was last night, as a community, we held the longest night service for people who had died while living without permanent housing here in Taos, as well as just those that we held dear that are not with us this Christmas, whether it was a recent passing or before. And one of the ways we did that was by listening to Leonore and the Threshold Choir sing. And I think much of that music was new to me. And one of the pieces that I really resonated it with, and maybe Leonore will do it with you all sometime, is I'll Be Your Standing Stone. That may not be the exact title, but it's close. And so that sense that beauty is all around us and is often in music, whether it's the music of the wind in the trees or the music that Michael plays on the guitar and sings, or Eileen on the piano, or we just hear within our hearts. I've got a new favorite piece. I'll just make this as an aside. If you have not heard it, the new Christmas song, Christmas in Santa Fe, is fun, just marvelous. It's done by Tessa Fresquez, and so it's all about a northern New Mexico Christmas. So I encourage you, but it's beauty around us. It's music, it's in the air. But one of the books that I've been reading lately is called The New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life. It was written by Dr. Keltner. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is he talks about 8 wonders of life. And in one of those, he talks about moral beauty. And what he really means by that is living a life of integrity, living a life of wholeness, being who we are completely, and to allow others to be who they are completely, without judgment. And so, as we explore beauty today, I want us to think about that in the broadest sense. So what is God's beauty? What is God's beauty? We hear you are beautiful with God's beauty. Well, St. Augustine said this: since love grows within you, so beauty grows. For love is the beauty of the soul. Love is the beauty of the soul. A question I'd like to invite us to wrestle with today is, how do we nurture beauty? How do we nurture beauty? And go beyond just the surface. I think most of us are of an age where we no longer need all the physical trappings of beauty, because we see the beauty within. But how do we nurture beauty? Well, one, I'm going to share 4 thoughts. The first is to see beauty in others and all creation. And that leads us to practicing acts of justice, so that all might be seen as beautiful. And to do that, we have to see others as beautiful. And then to live hopefully. And that's challenging. We're in a challenging time in our country, in our world, but we've often lived through challenging times. You know, when I like historical fiction, and when I read about periods of time before our contemporary time, I think, well, that was a challenging time. That was challenging, whatever it was. And yet, I think we're wired for hope. That it's in our DNA. That we are a hopeful people. So we live hopefully. And one of our calls as a community of faith is to hold up hope for others when it's a dark time, and to live out that hope. And that's why many of my Quaker friends say you have to mind the light. You need to mind the light. And so we are caretakers, bringers of the light. And sometimes all we can do is just hold the light. So practice justice, live hopefully, and then to live gracefully. And you know, for some of us, that is hard. For a person of my size, I look like a bull in a china closet. I just do not have a physical sense of walking around grace. Some people do when you see them, you know, they just look graceful. I never do. I just never do. And so, but I love the thought of it. I love the expression of it. And what I like about it is, it really isn't about how I walk around on stomping, you know, because my grandmother would say, why are you stomping around? And I wasn't really stomping, you know, I was just kind of moving. But, so it started young. Some of you may have had children like me, or been there yourself, and wondered why your children were stomping around. But living gracefully means living as peacefully as we can with one another. That's where I've come to understanding that. And so this is my opportunity to invite all of you to Peace Hanukkah, which is next Sunday, the 29th at 5:00. It's the annual Peace Hanukkah that a number of people put together. It'll be over at St. James this year, but it's also going to be on Zoom. And there'll be speakers and prayers. But I share that because it's a way of coming together as a community and supporting people of all faiths. And then I want to think about, how do we live peacefully with others? And one of the things that I thought, some of us after last night's homeless vigil walked and processed. I gave up on the candle. I will say that, trying to keep it lit all the way over to First Presbyterian. So because I don't walk so gracefully, I have to hold Ron's hand now, over the bumps. And so we got over to the church, and it was a wonderful time, and lots of food. The ashram and everybody brought terrific food. But one of the things I noticed is I'd sat down next to somebody, and I didn't know him, a man named Hank, and so he immediately got up to shake hands, which is particularly an American way of greeting one another. But did you ever hear George Carlin, the comic? He said, I think we would have a lot fewer wars if we shook hands with everyone, because it's very hard to shake hands with them and then shoot them. So that act of greeting one another and extending one's hand in a welcome, and it exuded that sense of, I see you, you're welcome. Which leads me to the fifth way of nurturing beauty. And that's what you do here. It's building community. It's being there for one another. It's how we build community. So I want to share a little shared table story about building community. So we are always looking for volunteers. It takes us now. We used to be able to manage with 12 to 15. Now we need 20 plus on a Tuesday to make it happen. And we need another, if you'd like a more mellow experience than Cheri has on Tuesdays, you'd like a more mellow experience, we do the same thing on Mondays, but we just don't have to get it into the cars. So we're packing all the bags for Talpa, which is 120. Because together we're doing 500 boxes of food for each distribution for Talpa, the people on the south side of town, and at El Pueblito. So from 9 to 11 this Monday, you're welcome to come and help us pack bags and produce. But so we had a new volunteer recently, Teresa, and she came to volunteer. And then after a little bit, she said, hey, I'd like to help you hold a fundraiser at the social club. And I thought for a minute, the social club, is that not a cocktail bar? Have you been to the social club? The social club is a cocktail bar. But it does have food, and it also does do mocktails. Not that I'm promoting the social club, except that she said, I've worked at food pantries before. This is the most fun I've ever had in Taos. Recently moved here to open up the social club, where El Gamal used to be, right behind the plaza. So to kind of know where that's at. So during the lighting of Ladue, which I thought was brilliant because everybody has to park over on the other side of the Catholic Church, walk across, that pathway to get over to the lighting of Ladue. And so they set up bonfires, and I had a number of booths and shared table and invited people to bring food. And I thought, who is going to bring food to the lighting of Ladue? We're processing, we're doing all this. People came with food and money. And if you haven't had a chance to hear Weird Bird music, they are marvelous. It's a DJ group. And they did music, and people were dancing out in front. And so somebody said, well, how'd you do? And I said, how we did was build community. That was what it was about. People making friends, seeing old friends, dancing in the street around the bonfire to Weird Bird music. In front of a cocktail bar when, as many of you know, I'm a Methodist at heart, and Methodists are not the cocktail bar people generally. Although we're not averse to them, but it was that building community. So we nurture beauty by seeing beauty in others and practicing acts of justice, living hopefully, living gracefully, and building community. I want to share a couple more quotes. This one by the theologian Michael Fryer. I love this one. Beauty is subversive. Why? because it's powerful. It's powerful because it makes us dream. It makes us think. It makes us imagine a world that's bigger than the one we know and that one that's worth taking a risk for. Even in a brutal world, beauty exists, and its power leads us to hope, faith, and love. Beauty inspires. It's as simple as that. Mary was a teenager when the angel appeared to her. That's our understanding of the story. And she goes on to live a life fraught with many challenges. So do we. And yet, God with us, Emmanuel, Jesus, shows that there is a love that makes a way when there is no way, that we do not face our challenges alone. So the angel spoke a blessing to Mary, one that, as Lou so well read, said, really? This is a blessing? I don't know about this. What are other people going to think about this blessing? And so sometimes we've received blessings that perhaps at the time we think, is this really a blessing? But today I invite you to think about the beauty in our world, to think about how we mind the light that is in the beauty of others and ourselves. And that we live with Christmas cheer, even when there's not much to be cheerful about, because our Christmas cheer is rooted in a love incarnate. So may we echo Mary's words, "Here I am, let it be with me according to your word." And I'd like to finish with this blessing that Kate Bowler wrote, a blessing for what's true about you. This is a young theologian. She writes, "When God thought you up, it was a good day, a lovely dream realized in God's imagination, a celebration from before you were born. You were made out of God's overflowing love in who you were and are becoming. God saw it all from way before the beginning till way past the end and saw that it was good. This one," God said, "this one I love. I delight in the beauty and the promise, the wonder and the glory that is in this one whom I have made. And my gaze is ever upon them, constant and warm like the sun at a golden hour, gentle as starlight, transforming and continuing, calling forth all the growing, all the becoming that is to be done. Remember this truth. You were made by love, for love, to love." Amen. Thank you. I'll pick up everything else.
Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, now we have 2 minutes. And then we will come back and sing some more.